we have our next speaker coming up who's truly driven by a vision to create richer, fuller, and more joyful living experiences. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the august presence of none other than architect Kamal Sagar. Can we have a huge round of applause?
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm going to talk about a topic that is relevant to every single one of us. We all live in cities, and housing, not necessarily mass housing, but just the good quality housing also for a long time has not seen the impact of good design, and I'm going to talk about that and what we can do to make it much better for all of us. Historically, design has not been able to make an impact, and I think when we started out in '96, there were only two examples that at least I could find in the whole world of good design. One was Moshe Safdie's Habitat in Montreal, and the other was right here in Bombay, Charles Correa's Kanchenjunga Apartments, and really struggled to find anything else where there was a sincere effort to create spaces that work better. And why is that? I think the whole issue is that housing and real estate is driven completely by spreadsheets. The design is done on an Excel spreadsheet with numbers which are focused on maximizing the returns for the investors and lenders and developers. And what that leaves us with is contractors who are working with tight budgets and therefore forced to cut corners, and design that is largely based on gimmick and pretentious, focus really on just on sales and on how it's going to look in the brochures, and very little focus on how the home is actually going to work. So how then do we deliver thoughtfully designed, good quality housing at scale? It's not very difficult to create iconic buildings, with inspiring forms. All the more so now with AI, you can create all kinds of things. But what is really difficult is to create trust and connection. And it's also not very difficult to create interior designs which are, using fashionable trends and with a lot of bling. Again, what's really missing is an authentic solution that is timeless. And good design really comes from faith in our inner convictions. I really love this line from Pascal, which said, "The heart has its reasons, which reason knows nothing of." And that is kind of, the driving force and the conviction with which we try to bring about some change. So we realized really that if you have to bring about this change in the housing space, given the context of how it works, then the only way it's going to work is by actually taking on that entire responsibility of developing, constructing, and not just designing, but seeing through the whole process. And that's really how our company was born. And so we set out to do three things. First, to build an organization, and that's the heart of it, to build an organization that is driven by a sense of purpose, with a culture of care and craftsmanship. Not easy. 28 years later, we still keep working at it to make it better. Secondly, we realized that if you have to deliver good quality at scale, then you need to develop capabilities for each part of the building, for plumbing, for doors and windows, for flooring, for waterproofing, a center of excellence and a team that is researching and experimenting and figuring out the best way to do that item of work, and build that in-house to be able to then deliver good quality construction at scale. And so that's what we started to do. And then the third thing was to create a systemic approach to design, which can be used at scale by large teams. And I'll talk a little bit about how that works. So the purpose has always been to help people live richer, fuller, and more joyous lives, and hopefully to awaken their passions so that they can make a difference to the world. That's the energy and the fuel that drives all of us every day to be able to create something like that. There are 4 core values that we've set up in the organization to make sure that everybody is aligned to that purpose, the values of authenticity, of care and craftsmanship, of creativity and progressive approach, and a very deep concern for relationships. And also for aligning the entire leadership, there are 8 principles that we follow of ownership, of impact, of credibility, speed, building talented and performance-driven teams, collaboration, frugality, and grit more than anything else. So the other thing that we had to do was to build the capabilities, like I said, so everything from manufacturing furniture in a factory to manufacturing doors and windows, metal fabrication, the RCC structures, masonry, waterproofing, all of that. And then also the operations and maintenance of those buildings so that it's not just built and delivered, but also looked after for the years to come. Systemic design is what we've tried to create through 5 core strategies. The first is to create a set of principles that the entire design team can follow and ensure that the philosophy is consistent. So there's 10 principles of people-centered design that we have defined. The second is to take a product approach. So the big difference between construction and why it's still so backward after thousands of years compared with, let's say, automotive industry, which is just 100 years old and is leaps and bounds and hugely ahead of the construction industry. And one of the things that you realize when you compare the two is that construction has a project approach, whereas manufacturing has a product approach. A product keeps improving with time, like your iPhone or car models. They keep improving. There's a new version every year, which is improved from the previous version. And so there's continuous improvement, and there's a much more controlled way in which the design and engineering is done, versus projects where you finish one, and then you start the next one again, and there's very little continuity in the process, and that's one of the reasons. So the realization was that we need to create a product approach where you have home products which can keep improving with time, and I'll show you a little more of that as well. The third was to take a completely holistic solution to provide furniture, furnishings, fittings, everything, so that finally the home buyer gets a complete solution that actually works, and not something that's 50% or 60% and then try and figure out the rest and again struggle with it. And core to that was also to ensure that a home, which without a garden doesn't feel like a home. So part of our strategy has also been to ensure that there's always a garden with every home, various different ways in which it can be done, but to ensure that it's always there. The fourth was to build a digital platform that allows home buyers to actually design their homes themselves, because designing the interior of home involves a lot of details, a lot of engineering, MEP, and a much deeper understanding of how the spaces work than just fashionable interior design. So, and the last one is a set of design guidelines and standard details which can be adopted across the project and can, again, keep improving from project to project. So the 10 principles of people-centered design. People-centered design is really about putting people at the heart of the design process. Our goal is to use the power of design to improve the quality of lives of people and to inspire them to make a difference, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm just going to run through all the 10 principles. The first is trust and connection. Good design is about making a connection. It's about understanding people and their needs. It must provide an experience that is joyous and inspiring. Good design is authentic, always starting from first principles, using insight, creativity, courage, and tenacity to challenge the status quo. No gimmicks or fads or trends, but just authentic design that is timeless. Good design is aesthetic, using scale, proportion, order, balance, color, texture, pattern, and rhythm to provide a beautiful sense of calm to the heart and the mind. That's what beautiful finally means. And good design is also simple, unobtrusive, and restrained. Every element exists for a reason. Good design is joyfully functional, taking care of every little need of the user. Functionality includes safety, accessibility, ease of maintenance, and a lot more. Good design deploys the best in engineering, science, and technology, engages in research and feedback loops, and adopts standardization and continuous improvement to deliver performance at the highest level. This is something we don't often think of as architects, but our buildings have to perform. There's everything from air conditioning to plumbing and electrical, and all of that needs to perform for many years. Good design is thorough down to the smallest detail, leaving nothing to chance. It's about the sensitive details that are fundamental to the character and personality of a space. Good design is also progressive, responding to the evolving needs and expectations of people, always exploring new possibilities, new technologies, and new ways to delight. Good design is also about ensuring that we achieve our own needs on this planet without compromising the ability of future generations to achieve their needs. And lastly, good design is always in harmony with nature, embracing it and engaging deeply with it. So those are the 10 principles which form the basis for everyone in the design team to ensure that we are working towards the same goal. The second strategy, like I spoke about, is the product approach. So there are different types of products: single-level apartments, duplex, villa products, but they are all products that can be repeated, and they can be put into a building block in a very different way, so that it doesn't look the same, but the product is the same internally. So, for example, this is a D35 product, which is a duplex, 3,500 square feet. That's the product we have. This is actually version 1 that you're seeing, which was built way back about 10, 12 years back. That's the same product. It's a 3,500 square feet apartment in a 20-story building. That's the master bedroom and the walk-in. And those are different buildings in which the product has been used. So on the left side is a building called the Magic Parvati in Kanakpura Road in Bangalore. On the top right is something in Pune. And on the bottom right is another project in Whitefield. All of them, among other products, also have this product. The third is the whole idea of having a garden with every home. This is just one way in which it can be done. And there are several different ways of, terrace stepping back, or duplex, or alternate cantilevers like this one. And there are multiple other ways to bring in the garden, to connect it with the indoor spaces so that you always feel connected to nature. The third approach is really, the third strategy is really how do you allow customers to design their homes themselves at scale. Currently, we have something like 5,000 homes under construction in Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad. And every single customer is able to design their home down to which switch controls which light. I'll just show you a quick demo of how the platform works. So you log into to the access that's given to you, and you can either select from an existing preset option, or you start from scratch. There are 7 stages, starting from floor plan design to sorry, I'm missing some of that, but I will go through it one by one. And so the first first option is the floor plan design, where you can go into every space and toggle between various different options that have been pre-designed for that space. It can work like for the kitchen, it can work like an open kitchen, connecting to the dining space, or there are multiple different ways. The pricing for each change comes right there at the bottom. You can even custom design the way the garden is laid out, the soft and the hard landscape. And then you go into what is called the furniture layout stage, where you can go into every space and figure out how you want the furniture to be laid out in every single room. You lock that in place. At any stage, you can go in and look at what the BOQ is looking like, what the costing is. There are credits and debits, credits for whatever you've deleted and debits for whatever you've added. And then the third stage is feature enhancement, where you can go in and add a heat pump or a automatic door lock or a CCTV camera or air conditioning or charger for your electric charger for your car, stuff like that. The fourth stage is the design studio, where you go into every space and then design what you want that space to feel like in terms of materials. So you go into like the bedroom and you can change all the different, the flooring, the cornices, and the ceiling, the kind of wood, even the kind of design for the different furniture items, and select what you really like. This is tightly controlled through a rules engine that doesn't allow you to make mistakes, so it will not allow you to select materials that don't, that conflict with each other, and so the aesthetics is controlled through that rules engine, and but you can literally select out of millions of options the different kinds of finishes, and even like the kitchen cabinetry or even the plants in the garden. You can select which plants you want in the garden, and then goes into function planning, which is really your cabinetry. You go into every single wardrobe or cabinet and design the interiors of that. So you select the different options, the ready-made options as well as fully configurable options, and you can then also select the kind of chimney or hob or oven or refrigerator that you want to select or the faucet for that space. And then you go into electrical, where you go into each room and decide which switch is going to control which light. You can add sockets and switches. You can connect from your bedroom to the walk-in wardrobe, a bedside control, or whatever you want to do. You can do it just by dragging and dropping. And once you're done with that, you actually go into the last stage, which is the store. So the store is just a lot of stuff that you can purchase, light fixtures, loose furniture, rugs, and things like that. You can add that to whatever you want in the home, and then you can look at, after you're done with all of this, look at the whole costing, the bill of materials, and you can go back and change things if it's exceeded your budget. And once you're done with all of this, you can review the whole selection, look at all the drawings, and if everything's fine, you submit, and then the system generates this whole set of drawings. There are typically as many as 100 to sometimes 150 drawings for every single home. So the homes then get built out from this through a batch production process, because you can't do it through a construction process. And then the last thing is about the design guidelines and standard details. So again, right now there are about 2,200 details, but these keep evolving and keep improving as we learn. We also maintain the project, so you keep learning from there what's working, what's not working, and keep improving the details. And that way, that knowledge bank keeps improving. I'll show you now what the outcome of all of that is, some of our work. One of our old projects is called the Good Earth, which was delivered in the year 2000, built around an existing Gulmohar tree, using the same philosophy of embracing nature. At that point, we had these cantilevered terrace gardens in alternate directions. So it was a very small garden when we started with the first few projects, just about 10 feet by 10 feet garden and a 10 foot by 10 foot sit out. But you could grow anything in those gardens, about 2 feet of soil. So you could even grow small trees. This is another project from those early days which is called Time. It's 10 small plots of 60 by 40, so it's 400 by 60, a long, narrow building. In this one, what we did is we brought the garden inside the home and moved the windows outside so that you don't even have to open a French window to get to the garden. So the gardens were all brought inside. This is the first time that we also decided to sell completely furnished homes from our learnings from the past before that. This is another small project called Lost in the Greens, facing the Bangalore golf course. So we designed there are 10 apartments. Every single one of them has a 30-foot long, top to bottom glazing that overlooks the golf course. And try to keep everything as transparent as possible to bring in the connect with the nature outside into every space. These are the alternating gardens, and that's how the garden feels like in one of the apartments. There's another project called Van Gogh's Garden, 19 homes, five-story building. This is the roof of the building, so the roof is completely green with lots of tall trees and stuff growing on the top. And then these are a few villa projects with green roofs designed around courtyard. This is a bedroom that is upstairs, the master bedroom opening out to a garden at the upper level. So every space, essentially, the idea was to connect it with nature as much as possible. This is another project of ours in the US, built with this exact same product that we have at the Meadowdance in Hyderabad. It's the same V45 home. That's contrary to what a lot of us assume, that, different location, different climate, you need to design it very differently. But if you've designed everything around human needs, then a large part of it is consistent throughout the world. This is the same home, again, the living room opening to the courtyard, and the family space upstairs, the master bedroom, the courtyard. That's the master bedroom again. And then this is a villa project in North Bangalore with green roofs again. Keeping it very intimate in scale by entering at a single level here. So you enter into a single level living room and then goes down half a level to the bedrooms below and half a level up to the bedrooms above. So from inside, it's a fairly spacious, large area, but from the outside, it looks very intimate. That's a deck into which the living and the kitchen open out so that you can really enjoy the outdoors and connect with someone who's in the kitchen. Every room connects very, as much as it can with the outdoors. And this is, as we started to scale it up, this is the first large project with about 405 homes called Windmills of Your Mind in Bangalore in Whitefield. Two products here, the Seed 20, which is a 2,500 square feet, 3-bedroom apartment, and the D60, which are the larger 6,000 square feet apartments. It's the clubhouse with a green roof again, and just a street in that project. So those are the gardens. You can see people are even growing banana trees on the 16th floor in an apartment. That's what it looks like from inside. That's the typical apartment where every single space connects with the bamboos and the landscaping and a water body and a deck. So you don't really feel you're, away, disconnected with nature. You're always connected. Those are all the villas in the same project with green roofs. So what's good about it is if you look at the map of Bangalore, you'll see lots of gray concrete buildings, and then you'll see a green patch, which is any of these projects. These are the villas from the inside. This is another project in South Bangalore. We named it after this beautiful tree that was on the land. This is called the Magic Faraway Tree. These are all the D35 homes for the first time. The corners that you see are of the gardens. So this is how it actually works. There is the living in one of the bedrooms opening out through a corner into a very intimate 400 square foot garden and water body and deck. That's what the garden and deck look like from the garden side. That's the kitchen. And then scaling it up further, this is a much larger project on 37 acres with 1,300 homes, about 5 million square feet, terraced first along the lakeside and slowly lifting up vertically after that into 30-story towers. That's the section. And that's how there's a boardwalk all along the lake, and then from the boardwalk, the homes step up, and then that's what it feels like from one of them. And then each of these products, this is an L30 product, again, designed to make sure that everything works. This is a small 2,500 square feet, small by Bangalore standards, not Bombay, apartment with a tiny garden, actually. And then this is, again, a large project with about 1,500 homes, but this time smaller homes. It's called In That Quiet Earth in the north of Bangalore, with green roof villas, and then the apartments, again, in different formats, cantilever gardens and courtyard garden in this case, double height courtyards with the homes alternating on each side. And that's what it feels like from the inside. Yeah, so that's really leaves us with that question as architects: how can we make a larger difference to urban living? Thank you.